want to hear something really funny? So I just learned that Elon Musk changed his Twitter profile to Harry Balls.
Oh, yeah.
B-O-L-Z. Did you know this?
No.
Yeah, so all of a sudden I saw on my newsfeed...
Isn't it Big Balls?
He's Harry Balls. I think Big Balls was the one that got fired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I see this like tweet on my newsfeed. I'm like, oh, well, that's a good tweet, you know. And then I saw the name. I go, Harry Balls. Oh, that's hilarious. Someone's got like this, what do you call those accounts? I was gonna say not fake account, but just
alias.
Sure. Whatever. I think there's a name for it. So anyhow,
Parody?
I was just like, what's that?
Parody account?
Yeah, parody account. There you go. So I was like, oh, that's funny, but I never crossed my mind like how'd that end up on my news feed, and then I just learned that he changed it. So there you go. Elon Musk is Harry Bowles on Twitter right now, on X, whatever they call it. Welcome back to Truth Hurts. We expose corrupt politicians and the lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota. Joining me, as always, MAGA Jesse. What are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, we got a lot of big stuff lined up. We'll be discussing DOGE and the big wins that have been happening at the federal level. President Trump is showing the Republicans how to actually fight and win. If only the Minnesota Rhinos could figure out what's going on. There are new charges on cat burglar Senator Nicole Mitchell. We'll be discussing all of the details surrounding the new charge that has been filed against her. We'll be discussing the reintroduction of the Never Again bill. The Never Again bill obviously is the key legislation, the signature piece of legislation for Action for Liberty, which prevents any governor in the future from locking us down and implementing tyranny like they did under COVID. And then we will be breaking down the Star Tribune, who has written an article about Action for Liberty. And obviously it's gotten some of the rhinos upset. So lots of interesting stuff to see on that one. I see Elaine Elstad in the chat. She says, hello, I really like watching the show live better than after. And Mark Krols agrees with her. We appreciate having you guys tuning in. I see we got Tucker91, Brad Ganser, and Chad Weber all in the comments. Make sure to leave a Rumble rant if you want to make sure your comment is read, but appreciate all you guys tuning in live.
Dawson, I don't see us up on Facebook. Is there a reason?
Facebook is giving us a problem. I'm trying to get it up.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay. I just wanted to see if that was forgotten or something like that. So we're currently streaming on X, Rumble, and YouTube. So we'll be reading a lot of your Rumble comments. What's that?
And locals.
And locals, that's right. All right, so brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give Warren Wessel a call at 612-419-7453. One hell of a real estate agent and believes the same things that you and I believe in. And speaking of believing the same things that we believe in, people that are real big fans of what Elon Musk is doing with DOGE, the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company. If you're looking to buy a home, you're going to probably finance that home unless you got a lot of cash just sticking around. So you can go to many different places, try to finance at home, but I would recommend going to johngaltmortgage.com. Give them a chance. See what they got. It's not just a front for politics, like their meme game top notch, but they're also a real legit mortgage company. Oh, we're up on Facebook?
Yep, I just got Facebook up.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Well, welcome to our Facebook audience as well. Also brought to you by Alpine Chemistry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Let's get right into this, Jesse. Oh, before I forget, on Thursday, we have a January 6er, the one that was the most prosecuted in Minnesota. He'll be on this show. It should be a really interesting conversation. So if you want to set your calendar for the Thursday at 1 o'clock, we'll be live with Brian to talk about his case and basically how he just got out of prison. He got out of prison before, I believe, the pardon, but now his record's going to be clean from that. It's an interesting story, I'll put it that way. We chatted on the phone for about an hour. Okay, you can go to truthhurtsnews.com if you want to check out the story. Also, Action for Liberty wanted to write the story, so it's also on actionforliberty.com, but let's go ahead and pull this up, Dawson. And this is about, I'm going to just say, I read an article on, let's see, that was Friday. A friend sent this to me, and it kind of laid out what exactly happened with DOGE and how they're multiple steps ahead of the mainstream media and the Washington establishment. And I gotta say, it got me so excited. In all my years in politics, I don't think I've seen anything like this that I really truly believe is going to lead to fundamental change. President Trump and Elon Musk have pulled off the most amazing feat I've seen in all my years in politics. In a matter of weeks, they uncovered a large web of federal funding that exposes corruption and government inefficiencies that could amount to trillions of dollars. I got to say that again. $1 trillion. It's amazing. Like, already they're finding programs alone that were worth tens of billions of dollars. This could amount to probably our whole federal deficit, which is roughly $1.5 trillion. For the first time ever, people are starting to believe that the swamp and the trillions of dollars funding it could be drained. And the belief is that the power will come back to we the people. While the corporate press and Democrats were busy a couple weeks ago discussing Elon's alleged Nazi salute and crying about Trump's cabinet appointees, DOGE coders quietly began implementing algorithms in the Treasury Department payment system that uncovered in real time the elaborate scheme of corruption by the deep state. I linked to the article by, I think it's, what is this guy? It's called Eco Loves You. You gotta love some of the names on Substack. Highly recommend you read that article. It's very great. As we all know now, USAID was the first to be exposed. Trump acted swiftly, shutting down the organization that was created by executive order in the 1960s and funded by taxpayers without congressional oversight. USAID gets $50 billion a year. By the way, I released this article yesterday. USAID's website still was not operating. They have taken off USAID's whole website, which is just fascinating to me. And by the way, the press was trailing them. Like, they're behind these steps. So as they're all focused on USAID, which was a big story last week, they're already Department of Education. They're talking about the Federal Reserve. Talking about Ron Paul in front charge.
They're outwitting the establishment, the deep state, which is very, very difficult to do. I mean, this is the deep state's game. So for Elon Musk to be able to uncover all of this stuff so quickly, it shows that big things are up ahead.
100%. I mean, it's not that hard to outsmart the Democrats in Congress.
Right. Maxine Waters, right. That'd be easy. But the deep state is a tougher tale.
Right, exactly. All right, so let me go back to this article here. So just to give you a perspective of the size here, like Minnesota's state budget, the entire state budget, so not just the general funds but all funds, doesn't even equate to $50 billion a year. So essentially USAID is the size of the government expenditures of the whole state of Minnesota. That's how big we're talking about. Democrats and their accomplices in the media, which we learned, some received funding from USAID. What do we got? Politico, New York Times, right? Are protesting outside the USAID headquarters. While their focus is on that, Elon's DOGE is already inside the network of other government departments, uncovering more fraud, waste, and abuse. They are constantly one step ahead of the Democrats' media and Washington establishment. It's just a wonderful thing. When this story broke and they're like, oh my God, Elon Musk has gotten inside the Treasury Department payment system. He's going to have your Social Security. And I remember thinking like, ooh, yeah. Because, we've said this on the show. It's a little nerve-wracking to think that the world's wealthiest man has got this kind of power, right? Because we would say the same thing about George Soros on the left. But now you understand.
Here's the thing. George Soros on the left would never be arguing for an audit of the federal government. They want to continue the corruption and exploit all of the avenues that they have. So I get what you're saying, but I think that the purpose is, an audit. So, hopefully that's purely what Elon Musk's intentions are, is to clean up our government, root out the corruption, and expose it for the people to be able to see.
Right. Yeah. And that's a fair point. I just think that, it does come down to a point where, the uber wealthy, you don't want to see them have too much power over government. And we've said this multiple times, is that you hope that Elon Musk is operating with the right mentality, right? His principles are clear, that he's not, once again, this is a risk. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to sugarcoat and say, but see, everything big, it seemed like does come with risk.
Right.
Right. So at this point, it seems like it's authentic what he's doing. Okay. All right. I mean, you could say he's in it for his own self-interest and preservation and, trying to get these huge deals with SpaceX. Like that conflict interest, that's 100%. You're 100% right on it. But I'll tell you what, the American people voted to stop getting ripped off by the deep state. There's no doubt that was what this election was about. Certainly was why I voted for Donald Trump. Like, I wasn't the biggest Donald Trump fan.
Right.
In fact,
and the media went to every length possible to try to smear him. They went to every single possible length to, try to convince us that Kamala Harris was going to be a good president and Tim Walz was going to be a great VP. So, even with all of the gaslighting, even with, something like 90% of the media going against Trump, having negative coverage of him all the time, it just shows that the American people have been fed up with the deep state. That is what they elected to replace.
Right, exactly. So, I've said on this show many times that, like, Trump's problem in his first term was he didn't drain the swamp. I mean, he just didn't. Like, I don't think it's really arguable. And you could say, you've said, obviously, Jesse, well, he's had the wrong people and he had to learn it. And that's actually Trump's explanation right now. And I got to say, Trump might have been giving us the right reason. And, credit where it's due. If you weren't a Washington guy, you put the wrong people around you, which you clearly did, and you learn that lesson and you act differently. This go around, I guess I'm a very forgiving guy in that regards because in the last 3 weeks, it seems like he's drained more of the swamp than he did in his first 4 years. And it's just something that I've never even possibly conceived could happen. It's like my wildest dream. Like literally I wake up Sunday morning, I think it was Sunday morning, and there is like trending on Twitter, Ron Paul. And I'm like, well, why is that? And it turns out that Elon's floating out the idea of Ron Paul being the chairman of the Fed, the Federal Reserve, the one that he wanted to end. He's got a book called In the Fed. And if you want me to go on why the Federal Reserve is a massive problem, I would love to. I love talking about monetary policy and how you're getting ripped off by the Fed. Now, what's really fascinating about it is you're starting to see some like of these neocons, these establishment types, really out themselves. Let's go back to the article here, Dawson. Bill Kristol, okay, remember, Republican establishment neocon, literally tweets this out. One should distrust absolute power, which is why we have checks and balances. But since you asked, and he's responding to Elon. This is before Elon became Harry Balls. But since you asked, I trust the deep state, sluggish, bureaucratic, process-dominated, and constrained a heck of a lot more than Elon Musk. Deep state over Doge state. Now, it's kind of funny to me, but at the same point, I guess it's like, wow, that's like, you're anti-American. Like what Doge is doing right now is really important work. I see Razzle Dazzle's coming. Did you see Altendorf's video Sunday evening? April came up. Did you see it? I don't know.
I haven't seen it.
Oh. I'd be interested in what it had to say. He's obviously referring to Representative Altendorf. So anyhow, like literally Doge is trying, it's like called the Department of Government Efficiency, unless you just attribute malice to it. But at this point, it certainly seems like that's what they're pursuing, right? And the fact that you would take the deep state, which is being exposed for a web of lies and funding and ripping us taxpayers off. I mean, it's not just government efficiency, it's corruption, outright corruption, to the point where USAID is not really a thing right now. Like, are you an actual organization if you don't have a website? Kind of begs the question in 2025, if you can really be truly an organization if you don't have a website. It just seems like that is par for the course in today's world. Razzle Dazzle, Thursday topic for show. No, I got a January 6th on Thursday. Is it more important than January 6th? I have no idea what this is about. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'll have to check it out. I did see Pam Aldendorf on the Professor Penn podcast. That was kind of interesting to hear her say that, well, we need more Republicans. Meanwhile, she voted to allow Brad Tapke to be seated. So, I guess I'd be interested in seeing what she had to say.
Brad says, kudos to Bill Kristol for his clarity on the topic of the deep state. Yep, exactly. Doing us a favor. I mean, it's just so obvious. All right, back to the article here. So it stands right now, it looks like this was a valid explanation by Trump. He was a Washington guy. He wasn't a Washington guy. He was a New York real estate developer. So he comes back. He's surrounded by guys like Elon, J.D. Vance. And now I can't imagine a single biggest win in my whole time in politics and for America than what's going on against the deep state right now. Can you think of anything that comes close to this? I guess maybe North Korea deal so that we end those tensions.
Right.
It's like North Korea's not even talked about. That's a pretty big deal. But I can't think of anything this huge. We're talking about possibly, solving some of our budget calamities here, because he's going to get into Medicaid and he's going to end up talking about or exposing the fraud in Medicaid and Medicare, which are the biggest drivers of the national debt. So. I mean, this is just a massive win. And at the very least, it's exposing it. So now all the politicians, the Bernie Sanders types, they're being exposed as public enemy number one because they're going to be against this stuff. Like the common guy literally just appreciates the fact that someone's fighting to get rid of the fraud. And that's what's going on here. So if you resist it, Bernie Sanders, who seems to be the most vocal person against it, then you're going to be suffering political consequences. Dawson, pull up real quick before I move on. A5. Donald Trump right now has a 53% approval rating. That's Donald Trump. Like, did he ever have that in his first term? I don't think so. As CBS writes, describe Donald Trump as, in the top answers, scroll down right there, Dawson, 69% say tough, 63% say energetic. Boy, you wouldn't heard any of those two for Joe Biden. 60% focused, definitely not that one. 58% effective. Scroll down. Says Trump and campaign promises. Is he doing it? 70% of response said what he promised in the campaign. 30% said different from promised. And then it goes Trump's overall job rating. 53% approved, 47% disapproved. By the way, only Trump would get one or the other. A lot of people would be like unsure, They're just like, literally, I don't like him or I really like him. But the fact is he's over a majority, which is great. And that's CBS News, by the way. This isn't like a Fox News or something like that. All right, back to the article, Dawson. So in just his first 3 weeks, allying with guys like Elon and J.D. Vance, we're now seeing the biggest win for the American people. We should soon see massive changes from the federal budget now that DOGE has exposed the deep state's funding network and poor government accounting. And as I mentioned before, resistance to this comes out very loud by politicians like Bernie Sanders. They're going to be exposed as public enemy number one. Unaccountable bureaucrats are going to get fired, politicians are going to get exposed, and the corporate press is going to have less funding to shape their around-the-clock anti-MAGA narrative, which is what they were up to. And that's what I think January 6th was an attempt to ruin the MAGA narrative, like to destroy MAGA by attaching them to what happened at the Capitol, right? And by the way, I think there might have been a lot of, well, we know there were federal government agents in that audience probably instigating a lot what happened there. But that was, in my opinion, an attempt to overthrow the MAGA movement. And I think Trump too, right? But really, they're not as afraid of Trump as they are about the MAGA movement, because the MAGA movement is the largest movement in modern history of patriotic Americans that are succeeding in politics. Like the Tea Party was a good movement, loved the movement, very principled, but didn't have a president, right? Like they did not get a president elected. MAGA did. I must admit, I've never been so proud of someone who I voted for my whole life. Trump is actually winning, and once again, it was like, there's a lot of reasons at the time to not vote for Donald Trump. I've said him on the show, didn't drain the swamp, allowed Anthony Fauci, gave him an award on the way out. Those are probably the two biggest ones. Oh, bad on national debt, although maybe Elon's going to solve that one. So there's some issues. Oh, don't really think he's great on Israel, although I think I understand what he's doing on this Gaza Strip thing, which is very interesting. So, like, there are reasons not to vote for him, but of course, there aren't any reasons to vote for Kamala Harris. So it's not like I would have voted for that direction. It's just like, do you vote for, a Libertarian Party when clearly not there that last cycle, or like Constitutional Party, or abstain like I did in 2008, where I couldn't stomach either candidate. There are even rumors floating around that Ron Paul might be tapped. So this is the Elon Musk tweet. It says Elon Musk is concerned to have Ron Paul head up an audit of the Federal Reserve DOGE. Oh, man. Let's see.
Is this AI?
Andy says, the largest...
Yeah, that does look like an AI picture.
Well, it's an AI picture,
right.
but Elon's confirming this will be great. Right? Even if he's just joking, the fact that Ron Paul's coming up in conversations today. Like, you could be an observer of politics and go, Ron Paul was a failure. He ran 2008, 2012, and he didn't succeed, right? He technically went to the convention with delegates, but they passed rules and didn't allow those
be recognized, right?
Yeah, be recognized. Andy says, the largest successful movement was when Jake organized the UWRF College Republicans 2001 to 2004. He was the champion. Well, thank you, Andy. Maybe our radio show did such great things too. Brad says, did he offer free beer? Oh, that's the only way I could organize, Brad. Jeez. Unfortunate. So this going back to the article is what winning looks like. Now, let's go back to Minnesota. Okay, we're not just talking about national today. Let's talk about Minnesota. In Minnesota, we watched House Republicans cave to Democrats. But, Jesse, you wouldn't know that if you just tune into center-right media other than us.
Yeah, no way. No way, because they've been lining up the propaganda farm to make sure that conservatives are convinced that Republicans actually did something effective during this House deal. No, they caved to the Democrats. The Democrats got almost exactly what they wanted because they knew that was as good of a deal as they were going to get. So when it comes to the fraud committee that doesn't actually have the power to force people to testify, or the fact that they've put all of their cards into the 40B district, even though 40B is a Democrat stronghold that is most likely going to go 2/3 of the vote for the Democrats. The rhinos are trying to convince Republicans that actually this was actually a big win for you and I, even though we're going to see throughout these next 2 years that the Republicans totally caved and failed.
This is from the Center American Experiment, which is like the premier establishment group. They're actually a 501c3, so they're just a think tank. House DFL caves after 3.5 weeks of shutting down state government. House Democratic leaders finally buckled under the pressure and announced they would give the Speaker's gavel to Republican Lisa Demuth for the full 2-year term. Clearly, the 20,000 emails facilitated by Minnesota's largest and most effective conservative organization, American Experiment, made life too hard for rank-and-file Democrats to continue their boycott. So, in other words, the supposed largest conservative group in Minnesota had 20,000 emails to tell Democrats to go back to the Capitol. That was your big achievement? Like, that doesn't seem like an achievement. I would kind of want them not to be at the Capitol. Like, I don't want them voting. So you want them back at the Capitol. But needless to say...
Right, because they caved on the quorum question. Once Republicans caved on that, they caved on everything. Because if they say that, we're going to call the entire first week that we pulled off, where we elected a speaker, we're going to call our own election of speaker illegitimate and say that there's nothing that we can do, well, then you've thrown away all the progress you've had. And now they, like you're saying, they needed the Democrats to show up. Why? Why not just do things yourself? We got a $5 Rumble Rant. BDC 1450 says, every day I wake up happier than the day before. MAGA. I'm with you.
Well, it's not always going to be this way, but it certainly has been this way, right? It's not always there's going to be bad times for Trump's second term. Sorry, I said fourth term. Second term. There will be bad days. But you're right. So far, it seems just better and better and better. Okay? And I'm not trying to ignore this Gaza thing, but I think there's just a pure negotiating trick that's going on here. I think he's trying to be honest with people to force these Arab nations to take up the Palestinian people, because it's a complicated issue in the sense that the Palestinians don't have anywhere to go. No one wants to take them. Egypt never takes them. Jordan's not taking them. Saudi Arabia's not taking them. So I feel like that's what's going on here, and he's putting like the peg way out about saying America will actually just go into the Gaza and take over it, because that's a terrible idea. But if it forces them to actually deal with the situation, it's pretty damn interesting. Okay, but so there could be bad things. There will be bad things coming from Trump. Trump's not going to act perfectly, but he's right. She's right. BDC. I can't remember who BDC is. 100% feeling better every day. Now, getting back to the Center American experiment. Like, stop gaslighting us. Like, what you're telling us the House DFL caves. What did they cave on? Mm-hmm. The talk is, well, they caved on giving Demuth the gavel. It's like, no. If the Democrats came back to the Capitol, Demuth is still going to get 67 votes, and Hortman was going to get 66.
Right. The Democrats never had the votes.
They never had it.
Right.
That's not a cave, right? They came back to the Capitol because they got exactly what they wanted. The idea, and in case you're not following the story, they wanted assurance that Brad Tabke would get seated.
Yep.
And it's so utterly just disingenuous.
And that's the reason they weren't showing up, was
Right.
because they were worried that Republicans would not seat Brad Tabke. And
Correct.
then the Republicans caved. That's the major issue. And 54A, like we're saying on 40B, 40B is not a swing district. That is a Democrat stronghold. 54A was decided by 14 votes. Of course the Republicans would be able to flip 54A, but instead they decided to cave on that critical question, and they don't stand up for election integrity. When there's 21 ballots thrown away, how do Republicans not stand up and fight for that?
Okay, so, the other thing that apparently the Republicans got, because it's like, okay, so Demuth gets the gavel. Well, what does that do for us, right? You've already boxed yourself in saying you can't pass any bills, which I disagree with, but you should be able to pass bills. But you boxed yourself in saying you couldn't pass bills anyhow. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, once the Democrats take 40B, you can't pass bills because you don't have a majority. So Demuth is just going to have some procedural things, which is not nothing, but she would have that anyhow once the Democrats showed up. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the other thing here is, and by the way, just to set this out, like, if they controlled the Tabke seat, then Democrats would not have 66 or 67 seats after 40B because you don't seat Brad Tabke. You see what I'm saying? Like, the Democrats weren't going to have a majority. Now they actually have a majority because of this compromise, which is ridiculous. But the other thing, and this one, I was like, okay, maybe there's a little something to it. They get this new committee with Republican majority. So, like, every other committee will be a shared, equal with Democrats and Republicans. Mm-hmm. This is their power sharing agreement. But there's a fraud committee, fraud and oversight committee, I think is the official term. And that'll have more Republican members. And so this is the big win. But it turns out they don't even have subpoena power. Now, this is, scroll down here, Dawson. This is Representative Mary Franson, not the sharpest tool in the shed or brightest light bulb. But she writes out, like, now go to the tweet on the bottom. She says, I still hold the opinion that Tabke should not be seated and a new election is warranted. However, the reality is Republicans got a really good deal. Democrats will have to call Representative Demuth speaker, and then she goes on to talk about the fraud committee. Then she writes back, and you just can't make this stuff up. Apparently, the fraud committee does not have subpoena power, which I was under the impression we would. At any rate, Republicans control the committees and Democrats can't pull any shenanigans. Yeah, they can. If you don't have subpoena power and you call on, like, the DHS chair or somebody from the Walls cabinet, they're just not going to show up. They're not going to listen to you guys. Your committee is useless. Your committee is just a bunch of talking points. In fact, that's what they did day one, their committee. I didn't watch the committee, and it didn't seem like anyone was even there. It was just, it's just a bunch of Republicans cutting some videos, describing the fraud, and they'll do nothing about it. And they won't get to uncover it because they don't have subpoena power.
Right.
And by the way, Franson voted for the rules package, and she didn't even know. She didn't even know this committee didn't have subpoena power. So here, Democrats got pretty much everything they wanted. Brad Tabke will be seated, and they got a power sharing agreement, which eventually there was going to be a power sharing agreement when there was 67-67. Everyone understands that. Unless Brad Tabke doesn't get seated, and there's no power sharing agreement because it's not 67-67. Look, anyhow, this is, it's one thing for you guys to be terrible at making deals, another thing for you to gaslight us about it. Meanwhile, like, literally, Elon Musk and Trump are showing how to outsmart the Democrats. Mm-hmm. They're steps behind them. In this case, in Minnesota, the Democrats are, like, outmaneuvering the Republicans at every step. And I think, did you put the tweet on here? Like, Winkler called this out? Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, the A7, Dawson. Go ahead and pull up the A7 in the document there. So, yeah, now this is pretty interesting because it's a tweet between Ryan Winkler and obviously Walter Hudson has gotten triggered by it. So, Ryan Winkler says, if I'm Action for Liberty, I'm going to be wondering why the MN House GOP traded away subpoena power to investigate fraud in order to get a speaker gavel without the votes to pass any bills. Why the trade? And then Walter Hudson, of course, says, Ryan Winkler supports Action for Liberty. That's all you need to know. Now, it's so ridiculous that he's saying that. Jake, wouldn't it be possible that, even though you're not a liberal, wouldn't you be able to articulate what a liberal position is and then be able to say whether or not Democrats sold out from that liberal talking point? Of course. So that's what Ryan Winkler is doing. He's saying this is what the conservative position was supposed to be. This is where Action for Liberty was. And then you guys sold out to have this no subpoena power in the fraud committee. So it just goes to show that Walter is losing his mind and claiming the Democrats support Action for Liberty. It's ironic because Marxists and Democrats hate us far more than they hate the rhinos. Our ideology and the way that we want to see our government is much more of a threat than anything that these rhinos are pushing. The rhinos and the Democrats, they're on the same page. They're a part of the Uniparty. So let's go ahead and pull up the A8, Dawson.
By the way, Mary K21 says Tim O'Driscoll sent emails saying that he had subpoena power, outright lied to his constituents.
Wow, that is very interesting to know. And, it sounds as if, if Mary Franzen didn't know, I bet a lot of people in this caucus had no idea what was really going on. That's what happens when
so maybe you should ask the people arguing on your behalf.
Right.
You just, this is oh my God, this just proves our point. Like, you guys fight for nothing.
Right.
You send in a bunch of swamp creatures, Daymuth and was Nash in there, and O'Driscoll was in there. Wait. No, I'm sorry. I'm getting O'Driscoll mixed up with who's the senior one that was in there?
His name's slipping my mind.
Yeah,
well, I can see his face.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It'll come to us. It'll come to us.
Were you saying A8?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead and pull up the A8. So
Paul something.
Yeah. So,
what's his name?
I don't know.
Okay,
but
not that important.
So Walter is saying on this one that you cannot be a member of the Republican Party if you believe that there is a uniparty. Okay, so get ready for this one. He says you cannot be a Republican and propagate the obvious lie of a uniparty. Nothing passed under the trifecta would have passed otherwise. Caucusing as a Republican requires you to support Republicans. You pledge that when you sign up. You're supporting oath breakers. Okay, so
what?
It's unbelievable. So we're pointing out that there is an obvious duopoly. There is an obvious uniparty. Well, and the perfect way to see it, let's go ahead and pull up the A9, Dawson. We can check out the vote that took place on the House floor to be able to determine whether or not Brad Tabke is going to be seated, if these legislative rules are going to be approved. Because that would be a way to tell, are these people all voting the same way? Well, how about look at that? Walter Hudson is accusing Action for Liberty of being with Democrats when he is the one voting with Democrats all along. Only Tom DePel and Drew Roach were the only two representatives to fight against these legislative rules and oppose them, which just goes to show that there is a uniparty in play right there. And obviously, nobody is dumb enough to be drinking this red Kool-Aid that Walter is putting out everywhere, because it doesn't make any sense. If we were all to believe that the Republicans are all of these angels who can do no wrong, it's such a joke. We all know the truth. And he's obviously getting nervous. He's losing his mind. He's gone off the deep end. He's unhinged. He wants to ban everybody from the party that disagrees with him. So, I think it just goes to show that he's covering up for the uniparty by denying its existence.
Right. Brad's bailing us out. Paul Torgerson. Yeah. So in other words, these guys negotiate on your behalf. We read this on the show last week, and you guys, they all signed on your behalf on the agreement with the Democrats, and then you guys don't even know what the hell it was, right? Mm-hmm. By the way, there was nothing in that document that even stated the powers of that committee. So who knows why this thing has not got subpoena power, but it's been reported multiple sources now, and you hear it. Representative Mary Franzen must have been corrected by her leaders that they don't have subpoena power. So what are we doing here? So anyhow, we're being gaslit by all the center-right cabal, and that's not what this show is. This show is independent thinking. We call out both sides of the aisle. Why do you think we have so many haters like Walter Hudson? By the way, last night was it's Sunday. It's Tuesday. Holy crap. What happened to Monday? It's Tuesday already. Holy cow, it feels like Monday. 2 nights ago, Super Bowl, right? I'm getting messages while I'm at a Super Bowl party, and Walter is tweeting about us nonstop. I'm like, what's this guy doing? The Super Bowl's on. Watch the damn Super Bowl.
Yep.
What is wrong with them? Oh, by the way, if you watch the Super Bowl, you might see, let's pull up the A6, the massive cheers that Donald Trump got during the national anthem. It's amazing. Like, I saw, that was the only time I think they showed him. Although I missed some things in the Super Bowl, like the whole halftime show. I don't know what the hell happened there. Click on the left image. But this is here during the national anthem.
I think it's just one video.
Oh, is it one image? Oh, so that starts with, okay, just click on that. Starts with left. And if you get the context, there was no one clapping. And then this is apparently Taylor Swift got booed. Now, I don't know if that's political, by the way. That might just be typical NFL fans are sick and tired of the whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce
Right,
thing.
I think the people are just sick of the cameras panning to her every single second. But we got a $5 rumble rant from O'Ban and says, Jake, you should see if Walter wants to do some ice fishing again. I'm sure it would be even more interesting this time than the last.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'll tell you what. He did something on Sunday night, tweeted something out, which he's now revoked. That just shows the guy needs some help. I mean, honestly, Walter, if you're out there, you need some help, buddy. Like, the fact that you're tweeting this much, you can't on one hand say Action for Liberty is irrelevant, and then on the other hand say everything all day long about Action for Liberty. But he said something that just was wrong and incorrect, and then was just personal against somebody, actually a couple people, and then he was basically caught on it and took it down, and then had the greatest apology. So, yeah, he needs help. He needs to get off social media. Rodeo 55, I wonder if Walter will fit down the hole. Don't say that. Jeez. Cheers, K-Wall. Good to see K-Wall for life in the comment section. Yeah, it's and by the way, Walter's by far the most vocal. So, if you wonder why we talk about him so much, not only that he decides to go and attack you guys, and, as famous Trump would say, we're just standing in the way, right? But I mean, really, it's coming after you guys, like the grassroots. That's what we're here to support. But it's the fact that
when he says ban Action for Liberty from the party, he's not just talking about Jake Mort and I. He's talking about you. He's talking about all of the people who are watching this right now. If you're a grassroots conservative and you're willing to stand up to the Republican Party when they're not falling in line with the conservative principles that they pledged to support when they got elected by the conservatives in their district, that's the issue right there. So if you call that out, that you're the kind of person that Walter wants to remove from the party. It's not just Action for Liberty. They just use Action for Liberty as a pejorative. They use it as an insult for all of these people, when in reality, it's a compliment.
What do you got, Dawson?
If I remember correctly, isn't this a step in the political pain area? Isn't this like the first they ignore you, then they... I haven't taken the class.
I can't believe he's reiterating the political staff.
I'm
That's
trying my
true.
best.
Yeah, I mean, he's at the stage of threats, right? Yeah.
That's second to last, right?
But I don't think there was really targeted pain or things that we did towards Walter. In many regards, I thought his first...
Well, we did expose him for caving on the quorum question. I'm sure that was one of the reasons why he got so upset. I had put an article out there that says Walter is caving to the quorum question. And that was a very critical time where it was obvious that Republicans were caving. And, that was right before the, a little bit before the Democrats actually showed up and the Republicans caved to allow Brad Tapke to be seated.
The problem is, I don't think, once again, he's the most vocal Twitter account that I can see, Minnesota House Republicans. So it's why, we generally go to him. Becky says, hi, I'm Cancer.
Yeah.
About the matches. I like that. But it's he is probably the most vocal. I don't know if any people there are a lot of people that don't want to say anything, but I do see that he gets support from some other House Republicans. So it seems like they're joined on that one. I don't know. In the end of the day, I don't think anyone could really ignore the fact that we're being gaslit by center-right, people, that this was some win. It's just you can't describe it.
Walter wants to call us this grifter group. Wasn't he the one who sponsored our bill, the Never Again bill?
Yeah.
Oh, of course, that was, so he's willing to sponsor that. When did things change? Nothing changed for us. We're still the same principled liberty conservatives, but obviously things have changed for him ever since he got fired by David Hand. Well, not fired by David Hand. David Hand got fired by the GOP State Central, and that's how Walter lost his job. I think that was kind of the pivotal moment when Walter has decided to jump off the deep end.
Yeah. Well, once again, and, I see O'Bannon's talking about how, he lost a gig and maybe he's broke, and he does have a family, so it's sad. It's just like, I think the guy needs help, to be honest with you. Just to see some of the things he's tweeting out is like a little ridiculous. Mm-hmm. All right. This segment's brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give Warren a call at 612-419-7453. Also, if you want to be part of our premium subscribers and get access to the post show, go to truthhurtsnews.com. You can also look up that article and share that around and click on support us. We'll be live after the show with inside talk at the Capitol and beyond in Minnesota politics. This segment, though, is a unifying segment. Senator Nicole Mitchell, the Democrat senator from Woodbury, being prosecuted in Becker County, the opposite side of the state. Dawson, pull this up. This is the new charges brought in her case. As you guys probably know, this all occurred last April. She was supposed to be on trial at the end of January and was able to convince a judge that we need to delay the trial because she's a state senator. And the Democrats won't actually vote to remove her because she gets her day in court, even though that day in court won't happen until probably July at this point. Anyhow, this is an additional charge of, let's see here. So our first one is burglary, first degree, dwelling occupied, non-accomplice present. I'll go into that, what it says there in the statute. And then count two is possession of a burglary or a theft tool. Okay? Now, let me just quickly read you the statute. Dawson, this is the B2. So the statute, what she's being charged of is whoever has in possession any device, explosive, or other instrumentality with intent to use or permit the use of the same to commit burglary or theft may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 3 years or to a payment of a fine of not more than $5,000 or both.
Does that mean, like, I can't just walk around the street with a crowbar? Or do I have to
if you were walking around the street with a crowbar and it looked like you were going to use that, if there was evidence you were going to use that to commit theft or burglary, then you would be guilty of that.
Okay, so that would be like an excuse for a cop to stop you if you're walking around with.
Yeah, that's an interesting law, isn't it? In this case, not so much. So what turns out is it was found, there was a crowbar that was found in the basement window, okay, that she brought in. So in other words, she didn't have a key. Like she clearly was not allowed to be in that house, okay? But if she was given a key, even if it was from her dad, but let's say it was her stepmom, it's different, or the door was unlocked or something like that. That's different than what she apparently did, whereas she opened, I think it's breaking and entering, right? Breaking through a window to gain access to it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's...
Well, I also think it could potentially cause property damage or anything like that, too. So maybe there's a separate statute for that reason. Then also you could use a crowbar as a weapon or something like that. So... but it does appear now that there's another felony charge thrown at her.
Here's what it reads. On April 22nd, 2024, at approximately 4:45 a.m., Detroit Lakes police officers were dispatched to 709 Granger Road in Detroit Lakes, Becker County, on the report of a home break-in. Victim, the reporting party, so this is Nicole Mitchell's stepmother, okay? Does it say in here her name? It does not.
Sorry,
so we'll leave.
Where are you right now?
You scroll to the next page, right there. You know what? I don't even think you need to. I mean, yeah, maybe people want to read along, but yeah, you had it at the right spot. Victim, the reporting party, stated that there was an individual on the floor next to her bed, and that the individual ran into the basement. Excuse me. Victim would later add that she had stepped on this individual briefly before they got up and fled the room. Officer Ethan Wothe arrived at victim's residence. Officer Wothe heard movement coming from beneath the stairs. Officer Wothe and Officer Sternhagen descended the stairs into the basement. A short time later, Officer Sternhagen located a female in the basement bathroom who was dressed in all black clothing and a black hat. The female, identified as Nicole Lynn Mitchell, date of birth 10/10/1974, was ordered to the ground and placed under arrest. While being detained, Mitchell said, okay, well, I guess she's saying the victim's name, "Carol, it's Nicole. I was just trying to get a couple of my dad's things because you wouldn't talk to me anymore." Now, we read the 9/11 script, the 911 script on the show last year when that came out. I mean, Carol, the stepmother, was terrified. First of all, she didn't know who was in her bedroom. By the way, we still don't know what she was doing in the bedroom, right? Mm-hmm. We act as if she didn't have like malice in her heart, like she wasn't trying to commit actually violence. We don't know that. All we know is she was at the side of her bed while she's sleeping and wakes her up, and the lady calls 911, and that's when Nicole Mitchell flees to the basement. What the hell was she doing in her bedroom? You know how freaky that is? That is so freaky. Yeah. This is at like 5 a.m. in the morning. 4:45 a.m. in the morning. Mm-hmm. Like, the lady's sleeping. Imagine being woken up in the middle of the night and someone's at the foot of your bed. Wow.
And you're an elderly woman. Right.
Or if you believe Nicole Mitchell, someone suffering from Alzheimer's.
Right.
Officer Sternhagen discovered a flashlight in Mitchell's person that had black sock covering the light. The flashlight was modified with the sock so as to control the amount of light it emitted. Officers also know that Mitchell had removed her shoes prior to being caught and placed them near or under a couch. Is that to be quiet? What do we make of that?
That's just good manners to take your shoes off when you break and enter into someone's home.
I know, it almost sounds like that when it's like placed it either up by the couch. Weird. Mitchell spontaneously stated, and this is a quote, "I have never done anything like this. You are going to find out I am a military commander, for God's sake." Mitchell then reiterated, "There were just a couple things of my dad's I wanted to come get." As Mitchell was being walked out of the residence, she stated, "Well, obviously I'm not good at this." Officer Sternhagen read Mitchell her Miranda warning at a squad car. After hearing her rights, Mitchell first said, "I'm just hoping this mistake won't completely F up my life." I censored that, for the Bridgets in the audience. Mitchell added, "I know I did something bad." Mitchell admitted she got into the house through a basement window. Mitchell explained that her father had recently passed away and that the victim, her stepmother, had ceased contact with her. Mitchell noted she wanted a couple of her dad's mementos. Mitchell gave examples of these items as pictures in one of her father's flannel shirts. Mitchell added that a situation regarding her father's ashes is what got her to this stage. Mitchell acknowledged parking her vehicle on a side street. Mitchell admitted she had not spoken to the victim for at least a month. Officer Sternhagen informed Mitchell she was going to be placed under arrest. Mitchell sat silent for a moment, became emotional, and stated, "My God, my military retirement. Shoot." This is a state senator in Minnesota, by the way, Democrat state senator. Officer Wilde searched for Mitchell's point of entry into the house. He observed a small sliding window on the south wall of the basement and noted black backpack shoved into it. Officers searched the backpack and discovered 2 laptops, a cell phone, Mitchell's Minnesota driver's license, Mitchell's Minnesota Senate identification, and miscellaneous Tupperware containers. We still don't have it. I just want to know that one. Mm-hmm. Drop a charge. Give us an explanation for the Tupperware. Please, just tell us. Officer Wilde briefly spoke to Mitchell in the back of the squad. Mitchell stated that she had literally just gotten into the house, that she, quote, hadn't had time to do anything, and again commented, "Clearly, I'm not good at this." Mitchell was then transported to the Becker County Jail. At the jail, Mitchell admitted to Officer Sternhagen that she drove her vehicle from Woodbury that morning and that she left around 1 a.m. Officer Sternhagen asked what got Mitchell to this point, and Mitchell confirmed that it was a situation surrounding her dad's ashes. Mitchell added that there were a lot of sleepless nights. Mitchell again acknowledged she hadn't spoken to the victim for about a month. Later that morning, victim called law enforcement and informed them she had located an item in an egress window. Officer Wilde returned victim's residence at approximately 7:28 a.m. Victim walked Officer Wilde to the rear of the residence and pointed to an egress window well. Officer Wilde stepped down into the window well and collected a blue crowbar. Victim stated that the crowbar was not hers and that she had not seen it before. The crowbar was collected and placed in evidence, hence the second charge. Chief Steve Todd, Sergeant Chad Glander, and Investigator Doug Vickmark returned to the victim's residence on April 25th. At that time, it was determined that the small sliding basement window where Mitchell's backpack was shoved was too small for a human to fit through. The officers determined that the larger egress window next to where the crowbar was discovered was Mitchell's most probable point of entry. Investigator Vickmark noted faint pry marks on the window. He also observed traces of loose dirt around the window sill and on the desk immediately inside the egress window. So, State Senator, either a bunch of cops are lying here and the victim's lying, or a state senator who is still serving and voting on important legislation pried open a basement window of a home she did not belong in and somehow ended up at the bedside of a sleeping elderly woman for God knows what reason, but it's very obvious she was there to at least steal some stuff because the estate of her father went completely to Carol in this case.
Mm-hmm.
There's no contest on that. Now, why did they add this charge? Okay, actually, the trial was supposed to already happen. Then maybe it would have added a trial. Why did they add this charge? It's interesting. Dawson, pull up B3. Susie says, more embarrassment from yet another Minnesota politician. Yeah, just when you think it couldn't get worse.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we're tough on, like, the Republican House, right? And rightfully so. Like, when you got a legislator admitting you didn't know that they had subpoena powers, it's like, do you even read? We know you don't read the bills, but do you even read anything? But it's like the Democrats are even crazier. Like, it just, can we have some, like, decent people up there? Like, can we just, is that too much to ask for, damn it? This is first-degree burglary in Minnesota. Okay. And you tell me what you guys think. Burglary in the first degree. Whoever enters a building without consent and with intent to commit a crime, which we would assume is theft here, or enters a building without consent and commits a crime while in the building, either directly or as an accomplice, commits burglary in the first degree, and may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 20 years, or to payment of a fine of not more than $35,000 or both. By the way, I think if you're convicted of first degree, you have to at least serve a certain amount of time in prison, if I read that right. Okay, so if, and so these are the ifs, right? If the building is a dwelling and another person, non-accomplice, is present in it when the burglar enters or any time while the burglar is in the building. So clearly that happened. We have a sleeping elderly woman. The victim, by the way, this is the tragedy. If we're thinking about this here, the victim also deserves to have justice. Like, that's just terrifying when you think about it. You know, at the end of the day, well, you know, I was gonna say, Nicole Mitchell doesn't seem so scary. She's kind of like a thin woman, you know. Like, I can't imagine she could physically do a lot of harm.
Not anymore.
But never go past how crazy people are, right? That's almost more scary than a muscular man. Like, a crazy woman. She's the kind that might stab you. They didn't find any weapons on her, thank God. At least that hasn't been brought up yet. But who knows what she was doing there. Number 2, or B. The burglar possesses, when entering or at any time while in the building, any of the following: a dangerous weapon, any article used or fashioned in a manner to lead the victim to reasonably believe it to be a dangerous weapon, or an explosive, or the burglar assaults a person within the building or on the building's appurtenant property. Now listen, we don't believe the victim was assaulted, right? Okay. So then that leads you to believe it's one of then that she had a dangerous weapon. Like, I'm just reading the statute and I'm like, at this point, we're not aware of that, unless I'm forgetting something, that she had a dangerous weapon.
No, it was definitely the flashlight and the bag with Tupperware in it, for sure.
Yeah, right. Like, I think we can all agree she was there to steal things. She might argue that she believed it belonged to her, but that's not how the law's going to see it. So,
and even
she's
if it
being
did
charged with first-degree burglary. Like,
Yeah.
and you see it there. You have to have, like, actually either committed assault or gave the reasonable impression you were. Which kind of seems like the missing part of the story. Because, right, the victim here has not said this was a family misunderstanding. And the prosecution is moving forward with this. They were ready to go trial into January. What the hell's going on here? And by the way, if it's not the case where you believe that there's physical damage, then wouldn't it be one of the other ones? K-Wall says if you bring a crowbar with you, are up to no good. Yeah, but it seems like it was left in the windowsill. Unless she was placed it there after, but that wouldn't make much sense.
Coming back for it?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, like, a crowbar makes sense to, like, open up the window. It seems to be the missing piece. And, of course, if this was evidence, they'd have to present that evidence. I hope they're not overcharging her, because even burglary in the second degree would have massive consequences, right? Since imprisonment, I mean, up to 10 years in the second degree.
What she was talking about with her military retirement stuff, do you, like, lose your military retirement if you do a felony or something? Why would she be so worried about that right then?
I think the reason would be she would probably get a dishonorable discharge from the military. That's probably why. So that would affect your retirement.
Is she in the military right now?
She was at the time. Well, she even says she's a military commander.
Gotcha.
She's an Air Force 05 lieutenant colonel. Just to give you perspective, I was only in 03 when I left the military. I didn't retire because I didn't stick in for 20 years. It was only for 12 years. So she outranks me. Now, I always have a conversion from Air Force weathermen, right? As I think that's what she was in the Air Force, to like infantry officers. Pretty sure our job is a little tougher, but
Yeah.
But anyhow, I don't want to like diminish anyone's military service because I do appreciate people that give to this country. But yeah, she's a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force National Guard.
With that much experience, you'd think that she'd be better at stuff like this. I don't know.
No, it's like a desk job. So,
Oh,
and it's Air Force. So did she ever have to crawl through concertina wire? Probably not.
in that case, she's perfect as a politician. Sits there at a desk all day.
Oh yeah, yes. And she was also a law student. She passed the bar too, if I remember right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What like I understand maybe like the emotions of I miss my dad or something, but what would drive you to go that far out of your way just to commit a crime? I don't get it.
Well, the interesting thing is I could understand, yes, the emotional thing with family and all that kind of stuff. I still think she sounds like a crazy person. But the issue here is she knew what she was doing was wrong, right? Like, it's not like there's this fog that you thought you were doing the right thing. You knew what you were doing was wrong. You admitted it to the cops on the scene. That just looks terrible. And then maybe if you did know it was wrong, that prying open a basement window and entering in a home that you had no right to be in, if you didn't know that was wrong, geez, wow. It's not like you're a teenager coming back to your parents' house, or, if you happen to be a college student that tried breaking into your buddy's home with steal their CDs, just to mess with your buddy and got in the wrong place. Those are different stories, than this case. 48-year-old woman, military commander, senator. Jeez. This next segment's brought to you by John Galt Mortgage Company. If you're looking to buy a home, give John Galt Mortgage a chance at financing that home. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. Jesse, Never Again bill reintroduced in the Minnesota House,
That's right. Yeah, go ahead and pull up the C1, Dawson. We got a new article on actionforliberty.com that everybody can check out because the Never Again bill is back. So the lockdowns, the mandates, the tyranny experienced during COVID under the reign of wannabe dictator Tim Walz proved how fragile our liberties truly are. The amount of destruction caused by Walz, Democrats, and weak rhinos allowed the Constitution to be eroded as our state's citizens were blocked from opening their businesses, going to church, or even getting together with family. Action for Liberty was the unrelenting bulldog of the liberty movement by fighting against COVID tyranny. While Walz was throwing patriots like Lisa Hanson in jail for serving coffee to willing customers, A. Farrell had her back. While medical professionals were being fired for refusing experimental shots, A. Farrell had their backs. A. Farrell refused to concede to the lying politicians and give up our liberty. We even got Fauci to no-show a ceremony for him at the University of Minnesota. A. Farrell's signature piece of legislation, the Never Again bill, would block Walz and any future Minnesota governor from locking down our state unilaterally. Such massive power should not be controlled by a single person, especially when you have a tyrant like Walz who will abuse it. A. Farrell President Eric Mortensen pushed legislation during his time in the legislature, which was reintroduced during a previous legislative session. A. Farrell can now report that the Never Again bill has been introduced with new authors for this year's session. The House file is HF 26 and the Senate version is SF 1191. The chief author for the House is Representative Drew Roach, 58B, and in the Senate it is Senator Bill Liskey of Senate District 58. Having two conservative legislators from the same district may give A. Farrell an advantage to push this legislation through. Senator Liskey is joined in the Senate by Senator Nathan Weissenberg as a co-author, and Representative Drew Roach is joined by 7 others in the State House, which includes Representatives Steve Gander, Tom Murphy, Lisa Demuth, Bernie Perryman, Keith Allen, Harry Niska, and Jim Nash. While even the authors may need to be pressured to get the job done, it is very positive to see 3 freshman legislators being Representative Drew Roach, Representative Steve Gander, and Representative Keith Allen, there we go, alongside House GOP leaders like Lisa Demuth and Harry Niska, seeing that they're willing to stick their name on a hardcore bill that will truly fight for our liberty. It is likely that both bills will get the maximum number of sponsors in each chamber this year, as was done in the previous session. But unlike last year, Action for Liberty has dropped turncoat Walter Hudson off of the bill, who has become an unhinged lunatic who wants to purge grassroots patriots like you from the Republican Party. So we will never again put our faith in rhinos like Walter Hudson to get the job done. Rhino Representative Kristen Robbins, 37A, has even introduced a fake version of our Never Again bill that still allows for one-man rule. Her bill, HF 21, is a joke. The Never Again bill is scheduled for its first hearing on Thursday, February 13th at 8:15 at the Capitol building. A. Farrell President Eric Mortensen plans to attend the hearing and testify on the bill's behalf. This critical legislation will be a massive battle to get across the finish line. A. Farrell is demanding that Republicans fight together against unilateral government tyranny. The establishment and globalists are biting at the bit for the next pandemic to finish destroying American freedom and our way of life. A. Farrell will fight to make sure the COVID tyranny happens never again. We look forward to the Never Again bill receiving a floor vote in both chambers to either put the pressure on tyrant Tim Walz to sign it or to prove that these anti-freedom rhinos and Democrats are exposing themselves. A. Farrell will continue to be the microphone of the grassroots conservative movement in Minnesota and refuse to cave to the uniparty swamp. So the Never Again bill is going to be massive, super important. So if your representative is a Republican and is not listed on that list of authors, you need to be reaching out to them and asking them, why are you not getting behind the Never Again bill? What is your issue with this bill? Because what we want to see is not allowing a governor to abuse emergency powers ever again. We don't want to see you guys locked up ever again. And the only way to do that is to prevent the governor from having this unilateral authority. There's a fake version, as I mentioned, with Kristen Robbins. That is not going to get the job done. Don't let these Republicans give you some slimy answer. You need to make sure that they are either, that they are going to get on board with the Never Again bill. This is an extremely important piece of legislation, and we will not let the rhinos get in the way.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I didn't even realize they had a fake Never Again bill. So basically, it doesn't really change anything other than just changes the time that a governor can call it. So they're giving him 2 weeks. They're giving a governor 2 weeks to do exactly what he did. That's the thing. They're missing all the important things that the Never Again bill does, like saying the governor goes to jail if he violates the emergency powers and the Constitution, and that you have a Bill of Rights during emergencies, right? Which seems like you shouldn't even have to say that, but clearly you do. You need to spell that out. So this thing does not fix it at all.
Right.
It hopefully lessens the amount of time, but even then, the legislature, as long as they have 3/5, could still extend an emergency, which is crazy. The whole idea is a governor should not be able to have an emergency powers where he does what he did last time. That should just be automatic. Like emergency powers should be for very limited scope of things like, coordinating with federal agencies directly, not saying you got to put a mask on. You got to, there's just doesn't even address that. It doesn't even address the fact that the governor had a mask mandate. It doesn't address the fact that the governor shut down churches. Like you're not solving the issue here.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
And I see Becky Hack says, Lisa and Harry, are they A4L operatives too? Going to be a big bonfire. And exactly. We've got the House GOP leadership who is willing to admit that this is a key bill that obviously the conservative base wants to see passed. We've been talking about this bill for years and years and years. And that's because we know that it's extremely important. It's what the conservative base wants to see. And, COVID has been one of those unifying issues where the base is almost all on the exact same page, that the governor should not be able to have this unilateral authority. And we're also blessed with this time not only having the leadership of the House GOP attached to this bill, but we have Representative Drew Roach, who is actually going to fight to make sure that this gets on the floor. We haven't seen it get to a floor vote in a while, and it's important that we put these people on record. If they're not put on record, they can pretend to support it. They can, use all their words and talk the talk, but until it comes time to walk the walk, you never know exactly how these people truly stand. So it will be extremely important to have that forced onto a floor vote in both the House and the Senate so that we can see who the real deals are.
Right on. All right, let's see here. Let's go to the fourth segment, Dawson. This is a Strib article on Action for Liberty and what's going on here in the state. This is brought to you by Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Let me pull this back up here. Dawson, what I want you to do is scroll down, pull up on my screen. What is the name of this article? Minnesota GOP leaders seek peace with party's anti-establishment wing. Okay. Scroll down until you see these are the people that talk about. It's a quotation. Keep going down. Right there. Okay. And you can zoom in. So they're referring to Ottertail County, which is a fight that Action for Liberty took on quite a bit. Harry Miracle, the guy that was basically the establishment in Ottertail County, it gets quoted in this paper and says, these are people that talk about, we need to rip out rhinos, root and stem. Miracle said, I've never seen anything that they say they are interested in working as a cohesive unit for the party. Well, it's because you don't listen, Harry Miracle. And quite frankly, the fact that you don't have a problem getting rid of rhinos says a lot about you, because I stand by that one.
Well, and he's the kind of guy that he wouldn't even recognize when the Ottertail County delegates voted to remove him as the caucus leader. So why are we listening to him at all? He is not a person of authority when it comes to the Republican Party, because the Republican Party voted and rejected him, but he, maintained his authority anyway and, continued to run the caucus illegitimately.
Needless to say, it's not us really listening to it. It's the Star Tribune. So they go to, in fairness to Star Tribune, Ryan Faircloth wrote this article. He listened to all sides because he did go to Action for Liberty here. The new Minnesota GOP leaders are taking a similar approach to working with Action for Liberty, a far-right group, right? A far-right group. A far-right group that happens to disagree with what's going on in the Gaza Strip, but a far-right group nonetheless, that antagonizes and encourages primary challenges against Republican state legislators. Well, that's true. State party leaders invited individuals from Action for Liberty to attend President Donald Trump's inauguration.
It was a great time. we had a great time there. Thanks for bringing it up.
They also invited former Minnesota GOP chair Jennifer Carnan, but said she wasn't able to attend. Oh, rats. We're ready to come together, said Jennifer DeJornette, the state's GOP new executive director. That takes a bit of that, just like Ottertail County, a little shuttle diplomacy. By the way, I have no reason to believe that Jennifer DeJornette doesn't believe that. I don't think she and I agree on everything, but certainly she's always been fair in my book. So that's a good thing. That is a good. By the way, it's a good thing we can unify on conservative principles, reducing the size and scope of government, and then beating the Democrats. Right. We can come together on that one. Action for Liberty touted the inauguration invite in a blog post on its website, writing that AFRL is clearly a threat to the establishment, and our invitation to attend the events in D.C. did not go unnoticed by the swamp, which is true, by the way. Despite rumors of threats to the party for this move, new women GOP chair Alex Plekish and leadership never rescinded the tickets, which may be a sign of a new beginning, the post stated. Actually, wasn't that your article?
It was.
So you just got quoted. They didn't attribute the quotes to you, but you got
yeah,
quoted.
that's okay. They cited it. It says in a blog
There
post,
you
so I
go.
guess people can check it out if they want to themselves.
The inauguration invite didn't stop Action for Liberty from attacking other Republicans. The group repeatedly slammed State House Republicans and their leader, Representative Lisa Demuth, during a nearly 4-week stalemate with the DFL. When the House GOP and DFL caucuses struck a deal Wednesday that gave Republicans a speakership for 2 years, Action for Liberty accused Republicans of caving to liberal demands and called them unprincipled liars. Fed up with attacks, even some of the State House GOP's most conservative members pushed back. Quote, I'm calling on the MNJOB to cut out the cancer of Action for Liberty to disqualify known associates of the grift operation from participating in party operations at any level. State Rep Walter Hudson, Republican
Isn't it funny that
Elmerville,
they
wrote
say
a post.
one of the most conservative members, and then the very next sentence, it's an anti-free speech demand.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously you're not a constitutionalist because you're against free speech, you're against free association. People are free to, do and say as they want, and if the Republican Party wants to be able to win, you have to be able to win over liberty people as well. So if Republicans think that they can just put up some standard rhino and expect that that's going to work nowadays, no, we are in the MAGA era.
Right. Hey, Miss, so just because Jennifer DeJourn is fair doesn't mean that she's competent as MNGOP executive director. I don't know. She's a hell of a lot more competent than some of the other people that have done that job. So I ain't hating, to be honest with you. I think she's perfectly competent. Now, how well can she carry out a plan with them? I don't know. But who else would want that job right now, to be honest with you? We've talked about this on the show, right? That David Hand left them
Broke.
I'll talk about, if you're a premium subscriber, we'll talk about in the post show. Just in case I'm going to go and reveal too much insider stuff. If you're not a premium subscriber, you can click on the green button on Rumble and what does it say, join us? Is that what it says? Or just go to truthhurtsnews.com, click on support us, and then you'll get access to our post show on locals. Go do it right now so you're ready to go. But the David Hand did a lot of things to leave the party basically broke and incapable of even operating. That just shows you who David Hand was, by the way. And so the fact that she's doing it, which I would imagine even probably not even getting paid to do it, is actually pretty admirable, just to be honest with you. See, now, we're not going to just hate on every Republican. In fact, we're talking about Donald Trump and Elon Musk. That's the whole show. That's what it was about, right? How they're winning. Like, that's what we want. We want wins. We want people standing up and fighting back against the radical left. But too often we're fighting from people inside our own party because they want the status quo. The establishment doesn't want to change things. And we read it. Bill Kristol literally siding with the deep state over Elon Musk. It wasn't that long ago where I could see Bill Kristol getting an invite to the Reagan-Lincoln dinner. Lincoln-Reagan dinner. Was it Lincoln-Reagan? Lincoln-Reagan dinner in Minnesota. They did invite Liz Cheney like 5 years ago, right?
Wow.
So, gotta say, there are Republicans that definitely deserve criticism, okay? But the left doesn't offer any solutions. The Democrats are just a lost party. So, I got to give hats off to Alex Plekosh, Jennifer, or anyone else that's with the party right now for understanding it makes more sense to work with grassroots groups like Action for Liberty than cut the cancer, so to speak, from the party. Mm-hmm. Cut the cancer, says the guy that literally has lost his mind on Twitter.
I know. Is Trump a cancer? Because, a lot of what we want is the Trump agenda. It's the hardcore MAGA agenda. So it's just ironic that, I'm one of the biggest Trump guys ever, and somehow I'm not a Republican. I mean, give me a break. That's the way to lose. And that's the way, pushing people out of the party that never has ever succeeded. And so, if they want to try to force it so that it's only a rhino party, and if they really wanted to force out all of the liberty people and force them to make their own party, then Republicans would lose everything ever. Because, that's, of course, not what the establishment I don't know. Maybe the establishment does want a third-party effort where the conservatives actually join forces and take out the Republicans. But it seems as if the Republican Party is an avenue for conservatives right now to be able to exist. But, we got all these rhinos like Walter Hudson who want to keep you out. But, of course, most of this is just talk. It's been a failed effort before. Jennifer Carnahan said and tried it before. It didn't work. It won't work now.
All right, let's go to the post show because I got some things I gotta get off my chest regarding this stuff. That's the benefit of our premium subscribers. You get information you don't get anywhere else. Things that we don't necessarily want to go right public with, but we'll share with you guys. So if you want to join us, go to truthhurtsnews.com and click on support us. We'll be back on Thursday with a January 6er, a J6er, who was actually thrown in prison, actually in solitary confinement. He has the longest time or got the largest sentence of all Minnesotans. Now he is actually pardoned by Donald Trump. We'll share the story with you. Wondering what you think about it, but we're gonna have him live in studio, probably an hour and a half here Thursday at 1:00. Don't miss it. Set your calendars for that. For everyone that's in the premium subscribers, we'll see you in 1 minute. Thank you for the Rumble rants. What was it, BDC something, and what was the other one?
Oh yeah, I'll find it here. O'Bannon.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for the Rumble rants. We'll be live in the post show in 1 minute. To everyone else, see you on Thursday with our J6er. Take care.